It is not for everybody, but it is for everybody. It is not for everybody, but it is. It blessed me, and I'm going to preach it. I've preached it to myself a couple of times this morning already. I got happy at home in the mirror shaving while I was preaching it. I was getting happy up there on the platform while I was preaching it in my mind. And so if you don't get happy, I've been happy. I've been here. In the Old or the First Testament, I got 1047. What y'all got? All right. I think I ought to be plumb nearly through by 11:20. You can loan me that much time, and then you can go run through the water sprinklers. All of you rich Negroes got pools. Go jump in your pool. I wish I had one. In the First Testament canon, I'm going to be using the easy to read version, the ESV translation. 2 Samuel. If you see any red letter edition, you're in the wrong place, baby. I'm going to start at 10:50. I'm going to try to be through by 11:20, if the Lord say the same. 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 3. And you want to keep your Bibles open. Let me let the gentlemen ushers be seated. Look around the wall at these incredible men. Look around. Come on, y'all. That's a pitiful handshake, a hand clap. Come on, brothers, you may be seated so you can get your Bibles out. Some wonderful men of God. 2 Samuel chapter 9. Verse 3. 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 3. If you don't have it, say, hold on. Everybody got it. I want us to be on, and my noonday group would understand this. I want us to be on one accord. Thank you, Sister Deborah Wallace, for that kind introduction. Everything except that last thing. Could have left that part out. You know, the cowboy has always been known to defeat the Indians. Well, I just think we ought to behave in church. I just think aren't you glad you can come to a church where you can have fun? Yeah. Thank you, Missionary Johnson. Thank you. I got some help. 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 3, the king said, is there anyone left in Saul's family? Just make a note. Saul himself was also a king. Is there anyone left in Saul's family? This is the question being raised by the king in residence. Write this down. His name was David. King David said, is there anyone left in King Saul's family? And he said, there's a reason for my query. David says, I want to show God's kindness to this person. And then a servant boy spoke up. Ziba said to King David, Jonathan, who was the son of King Saul, and a very dear friend of David, who is now the king. Ziba said to King David, Jonathan has a son still living. You were asking, is there anybody from Saul's family still alive that you can be a blessing to? And Ziba, who was also a servant, said to King David, Jonathan, your friend, the son of King Saul, has a son still living. Now, it seemed like he should have left it right there, but he didn't. He modified it. He became descriptive. It was a negative. On the surface, it seems negative, but we're going to unpack that. We're going to plot that field. He said, Jonathan has a son still living. Notice here, he did not initially give the boy's name. Seemed like to me he should have called his name. But then he modified, he used an adjective modifier. Jonathan has a son, still living. And look at what he says, Angela. He said, he is crippled in both feet. How many of you got some stuff in your past life you hope nobody never brings up? You hope that God has blinded their memory. Elder Marshall, you with me? You got some stuff back there that you hope won't meet you in this world or confront you at yonder's judgment bar. I'm gonna make this is one of my inflammatory statements, and my time is getting away from me. This is not my subject, but I'm gonna just parenthetically, I want to make this observation because it come to me up there in the pulpit, and write this down. Just write down and say, I just ain't gonna get no better. That's inflammatory. Yeah, that sounds pessimistic in the Pentecostal church, but it's truth. It is veracity. I just ain't gonna get no better. Man, what in the world could drive somebody to say something like that and then proclaim to know God? But just stick with me. I want to talk this morning to some flawed, write that word down, F-L-A-W-E-D. Some flawed people. I know this ain't going to help all of y'all, but those that it's going to help, it's going to help. H-E-P, help. I want to talk to some flawed people this morning, some people who've got some flaws. And so here's my subject. Write my subject down of my thesis. Flawed but usable. But David Wynn, you with me? I am flawed, but I'm still usable. Let me try it one more time to this side over here. I am flawed. This is my self-affirmation. I am flawed, Sister Monica Benoit, but I'm still usable. Let me say it to the balcony folk, because I got some flawed people up there. I'm flawed, but I'm still usable. If you heard me in the balcony, you ought to wave at me. I see you. Okay, thank you very much. Some folk who feel like they are diminished in value and effectiveness because they are flawed in some manner, either in character, personal history, or physical defect. There are some folk who feel like they are diminished, write that phrase down, diminished in value and effectiveness, simply because they are flawed in some manner, either one in character, personal history, or physical defect. They feel in their own mind that they are diminished in value. They feel, Brother Lee, inferior. They don't feel as though subservient to you simply because they have a flaw. Some people got a thing called buck teeth, and they don't want to smile because their teeth are buck. There's a gap there, and so they tend to do like this when they're talking because they don't want you to see the gap. They feel that that is a personal or a physical flaw, and they are not as good to look at as you. I'm going somewhere. Y'all ain't saying much. Let me help you. The word flaw, the word flaw by definition, write this down, means a defect in physical structure or form. Flaw means a defect in physical structure or form, comma, an imperfection or weakness, and especially one that detracts from the whole or hinders effectiveness. A fragment. Let me just simplify. It's a defect in your physical structure or form. It is an imperfection or weakness, especially one that takes away from the whole or hinders your effectiveness. I want to talk this morning to some divorcees. Did I get your attention? Some high school dropouts. Some men and women watching this broadcast from behind jailhouse bars or prison walls. I want to talk to some folk who are bankrupt or having chronic financial struggles, some folk who are suffering from multiple broken, failed relationships. I want to talk to some drug users who failed once too many times at trying to be free. I'm talking to some people here of an illegal drug habit. You need to buy this DVD. Touch somebody and say, you need to get a copy of this and give to some of your kinfolk. I'm talking to some flawed folks, Prater, but they're still usable. Let me stop here and poke a little fun at my wife and my children. I'm from the projects, born and reared in mama's house, and we didn't throw nothing away. My wife and my children live by the effective dates, expiration dates of a product. And we've had some challenges in my household. They'll go through the refrigerator and throw out stuff, and the expiration date is one day beyond, and I get mad enough to cuss. I said, don't you understand? Project folk, I wish I had some project people here. Project folk don't throw stuff out because it's one day beyond the expiration date. I've been known to drink milk that was 5 days beyond it, and I'm still here. They throw out light bread. I wish I had some servicemen that knew about MREs. Meals ready. They go through boy, I was so mad one day I come home. David, the cabinet was buck naked bare. And I say, what happened? See, I buy canned goods and store them just in case. And they had gone through and thrown out canned goods that was maybe a month or two beyond there. I say, canned pinto beans don't go bad. Frozen hamburger meat at 0 degrees don't go bad. I don't care if it says it's 5 months past the expiration date. So I wish my wife was here to hear this. The canned goods were flawed. Y'all ain't gonna pray with me. But still usable. I got hamburger meat. I got turkey from last year that's frozen. It may be flawed. I can't hear nobody here. I'm talking to some folk. I'm trying to hurry. I'm talking to some ex-offenders who have been released from prison but can't find a job. This is real stuff, y'all. Because they have a felony conviction in their past. but the government says you got to work. Here is one that I think will reach you. I'm talking to some sick or physically infirm persons who don't see physical healing in their view. No matter how much they have prayed and believed God for physical healing, they are flawed but still usable. Let me stop again and make a personal observation. And many of you can relate to this. I have a torn rotator cuff. How many of y'all know what that is? How many of y'all had one? How many of y'all got yours fixed? Well, I went to the surgeon a few months ago, and they can't fix mine. I got to live with it. It was a simple procedure, and the surgeon went in and didn't keep me in surgery long, and he came back and told my wife and children, said, we can't fix him. He got to live with this. I live with chronic pain. I live with a tremble now. When I'm on an airplane, I'm always worried about, can I put that roller bag up there because my rotator cuff is torn and I can't reach as high. I can about get like this. And I'm thinking, God, why didn't you let the doctor fix this? And I didn't get no good answer from the Lord. I'm flawed now. I see other people using their left hands and their left arm, and I feel some sense of envy. But this message that y'all ain't saying much about helped me. The Lord said, you're flawed, but you're still usable. I just wish I had 79 flawed folk would jump up and say, preach, Bishop. Thank you very much. Thank you. Since y'all are here, I believe I will. I'm living with a flaw. I'm self-conscious about my flaw because when I'm holding my hand out, sometimes my fingers will tremble, and I hope nobody don't see it because I got a flaw. And I feel inferior to other people who don't have the flaw and don't have the pain. I can manage. I'm just living with the pain. But what I don't like is when my flaw becomes publicly identifiable and you're able to look at me and tell that something is wrong with that left arm. He's not moving it like other people. You got to come to understand I'm flawed. But don't sing no sad song for me. I'm flawed, baby, but I'm still usable. Let me plow this field. I got about 26 minutes here. I'm talking to someone who had a relationship with God, but somehow they backed away from their once fervent relationship with the God of all creation. I'm talking to some flawed persons today. Now, our culture, secular and sacred, is not so kind to people they perceive to be flawed because of physical, character, or emotional deficiencies. The culture, y'all ought to talk back to me. The culture tends to view you as an imposition or an annoyance because of your physical flaws. I tell you, on the airplane, while I'm trying to lift that bag up, I'm always conscious or self-conscious about other folks standing behind me while I'm trying to lift that bag up, and I can feel them saying, I sure wish he'd hurry up. But I'm doing the best I can, Tanya, because I got a flaw. If I could do it faster, I would, but I can't. So I have to struggle a little bit longer, a little bit harder. I'm flawed. But if you just be patient, I'll get that sucker up there after a while. People can be cruel when dealing with those who are battling with disabilities. It's easy to make fun and point fingers of impatience. Write that phrase down. Point fingers of impatience at people with physical limitations. I was inspired. My wife and I were on board a cruise ship, and something happened to her back, and she became immobile, and the onboard doctors put her in a wheelchair. I'm more sympathetic now to people in wheelchairs, because folk who aren't in wheelchairs, they can be mean. Do you know sometimes they will see you trying to get on the elevator? I ain't getting much help from y'all today. And see you struggling, Matthew, with the wheelchair trying to get in there, and they'll stand there and let the door close because they don't want you in your wheelchair in the elevator like it's contagious. When I was pushing her around the ship, folk would be behind us, and sometimes we'd be slower moving, and the folk would just kind of ease on by us and rub shoulders to let us know that we don't have this flaw. We're going to push on by you. I had to learn the race is not given to the swift. Even with my flaw, I may not be, oh God help me, I can't move as quickly as you're moving, but by and by I'm going to get there too. I need a few more minutes. Our culture wants everyone to be like Marie Osmond on the Nutrisystem commercial. They want all of you obese people. You got that? You obese folk. Marie Osmond wants you to believe that in short order you're going to lose 30 pounds and look as fine and petite as Marie thinks she looks.